The warriors known as the Immortals are among the most emblematic figures in the military history of antiquity, with their origins in the Achaemenid Empire in the 6th century BCC. They are still recognized today as a symbol of power, discipline, and efficiency, reflecting the grandeur of the Persian Empire at the time. The name Immortals was not, in fact, used by the Persians themselves. This nickname was given by the Greeks, more specifically by the historian Herodotus, who described the unit in his work Histories, which recounts the events of the Greco-Persian Wars. For Herodotus, the Immortals were a military unit made up of 10,000 men, and he called them Athanatoi, which in Greek means immortals. This name was inspired by a unique characteristic of the unit, its ability to always maintain the same number of soldiers, which gave the impression that it never diminished, regardless of the dead or wounded. What really created this sense of immortality was the recruitment and replacement system the Persians implemented. Whenever one of the Immortals' 10,000 warriors died, was seriously wounded, or became incapacitated, he was immediately replaced by another soldier. In this way, the number 10,000 was kept constant, without any reduction, regardless of the circumstances. This rigorous replacement process led enemies, and even allies, to believe the unit was unshakable, immune to death. That is why the Immortals became an icon of strength and resilience, since they seemed able to replenish their ranks constantly, as if they never died. The Immortals had a dual function in the Persian army, which showed their strategic importance both in times of peace and war. During peacetime, they were the king's personal guard. As an elite troop, their main mission was to protect the sovereign and ensure the security of the empire. They were always at the king's disposal, ready to defend his authority against any threat. In wartime, the Immortals served as an elite infantry unit. Their combat skill and intense training made them a lethal force on the battlefield. It was this versatility that made the Immortals one of the most respected units of the Achaemenid Empire, because they were prepared for both defensive and offensive actions. The Immortals were composed exclusively of men of Persian or Median origin, which was essential to ensure the unit's deep loyalty to the king and the empire. The fact that their members came from these two specific cultures ensured a direct and profound connection to the values and interests of the Achaemenid Empire. The Immortals' leadership was in the hands of an elite officer called the Hazarapat, who was the unit's commander-in-chief. This position required not only exceptional strategic and tactical skill, but also the ability to maintain discipline and order among the Empire's most highly trained men. The Hazarapat not only commanded the Immortals in battle, but was also a symbol of Persian military organization, reflecting the monarch's power and the care with which the army was structured. The Immortals were equipped with specialized infantry weaponry, focusing on both close combat and ranged attacks. Their main offensive weapon was the short spear, which, unlike traditional long spears, had silver or gold counterweights at the base, replacing the butt spike. These counterweights helped balance the spear, allowing the warriors greater precision and force in their charges. In addition, the Immortals were also armed with swords or long daggers, which were essential in close quarters combat when spears were not as effective. Bow and arrow were also part of the Immortals' armament, allowing them to carry out ranged attacks, a useful tactic both in battle and in prolonged defenses. They used large, rectangular wicker shields called gerun. These shields were light and portable, which allowed for greater mobility in combat. However, the lightness of the gerun also meant they offered limited protection against heavier weapons, such as spears and the armor of Greek hoplites. In clashes with Greek armies, for example, the Immortals could find themselves at a disadvantage due to the superiority of their enemies' heavy weapons. As for armor, the Immortals wore tunics decorated in vibrant colors, such as purple and blue, which gave them a striking, distinctive look. These tunics did not provide the same protection as the heavy armor worn by other soldiers of the time. In addition, it is possible that the Immortals wore reinforced leather breastplates, which offered additional defense against slashing attacks, but even so, their protection was not as robust as that of warriors from other empires. Throughout history, the Immortals were present in some of the greatest battles of the Persian Empire. Their first major campaign took place during the conquest of Babylon in 539 BCC, under the command of Cyrus the Great, founder of the Achaemenid Empire. Babylon was one of the most powerful cities in Mesopotamia, and its fall marked one of the greatest military achievements of the era. The Immortals played a crucial role in this conquest, being one of the main fighting forces during the invasion. In addition, the Battle of Marathon, fought in 490 BC during the First Greco-Persian War, was one of the most important events in the conflict between the Persian forces and the Greek city-states, especially Athens. The Immortals, with their unbeatable reputation and impressive presence on the battlefield, were sent to face the Athenian hoplites, who formed the Greek defensive line. Despite their strength and skill, the Immortals faced an unexpected challenge. The unit's light equipment was not effective against the Greek phalanx. The flat terrain of Marathon favored the Greeks' compact formation, and the Immortals, however well-trained they were, could not break the Greek defensive line. The Persian defeat at the Battle of Marathon was a major setback for the Achaemenid Empire and a pivotal moment in the history of the Greco-Persian Wars. The Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC was one of the most legendary battles in ancient history, and the Immortals were at the center of the clash. Under the command of Xerxes I, the Persians invaded Greece with a massive army, and the Immortals, as the elite unit, took part directly in the invasion. In the battle, the Immortals faced fierce resistance from the Spartan forces led by Leonidas. However, the turning point in the battle came when a Greek traitor revealed to the Persians an alternative path that allowed them to outflank the Spartan defenders. With this maneuver, the Immortals and the Persian forces were able to attack the defenders from behind, forcing them to give way. In 479 BC, the Immortals were part of the Persian troops under the command of Mardonius, the commander-in-chief of the Persian army, who was tasked with occupying Greece. Despite this attempted occupation, Persian control over Greece would not last long. The Greeks, with their determination and military skill, managed to turn the tide, and soon the Persian invasion would meet its final defeat. The Battle of Issus, fought in 333 BC, was one of the decisive events in the history of the Achaemenid Empire and of the Immortals. In that battle, the immortal warriors faced the forces of Alexander the Great, who sought to expand his empire eastward. Despite the Immortals' skill and fame, the battle was a disaster for the Persians. Alexander's army, with its superior strategy and the strength of its phalanxes, defeated the Persians decisively. 2 years later, the Battle of Gaugamela sealed the fate of the Achaemenid Empire and meant the end of the Immortals as an effective military unit. After the Persian defeat at the Battle of Issus, the Persian king Darius III tried to reorganize his forces and faced Alexander the Great again at the Battle of Gaugamela. However, the battle was a massacre for the Persian army. The Achaemenid Empire's numerical advantage was not enough to overcome Alexander's army's tactical superiority and coordination. Darius III, seeing defeat as imminent, fled, leaving the Immortals and the rest of his army in a desperate position. With the defeat at Gaugamela, the Achaemenid Empire was effectively defeated and destroyed. Alexander the Great went on to conquer the empire's lands, and the Immortals ceased to exist as a military unit. So tell me in the comments if you already knew the story of these elite warriors of the Persian Empire. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.